Good morning. So today we're going to keep working on gates. I'm going to give you an update on the two metal gates we've been working on. We've jumped ahead on gotten those mostly complete with a few more things to do on them, but we're going to give you a little preview of those, how they look, and then talk about this third gate that we're going to make. So this first one is in this little tunnel through the hollies. You can see I've got it hung on its hinges. I need to still do just a post right here so it can be closed, and then on both sides we're going to line this path with cast iron plant to give it an edge. So this is a little secret entry back in to this garden area. And then the bigger set we've been working on are hung up right here. You can see that one's open, this one's closed, and that worked out pretty well. After a little trial and error, we got them in there. So the third one we're going to make it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a wooden gate, and it's going to go in this opening. And so right now we're going to go down here and verify the width, and then go up to the shop and get started. So let's make sure we got the width right. Let's see here. It's about 44 inches. Let's see, a little over 44, about what the top of it is, and maybe just under 44. That's a bad angle. Probably 43 3/4. So we just did figure 43.5 inch rough opening, and we can figure out how wide to make our gate, hinges, offsets, all that kind of stuff. So we'll head to the shop and get going. Alright, so we're back up at the shop now, and I've already cut these cedar boards 6 feet long, and got a little jump start prep work finished. And so now I'm going to show you how we're going to lay this thing out. So first off, this thing is going to be, those are 1x6 cedar boards, so I'm going to do it the gate 2 boards thick. Alright, so here's a sketch of what I'm going to do. It's going to be pretty simple shape, take a little work on cutting out, but basically it'll be an arch top, with a hole cut out, and so each one of these cedar boards, will be pieced together sideways. And then I'm gonna take a hinge and put it here, and then a hinge here, and then that's the gate opening. All right. And then the top. All right, you see that so far? So the hinges, and then there'll be a big lag bolt hinge pin that goes into the post. So these hinges are this. See that? That hinge pin. So I'm going to put that in between the two layers of boards. And then I'm going to take a piece of metal strap and go on the outside of the wood all the way down, or almost all the way down, and then bolt it all the way through. Bolt it like that all the way through, and that will be this piece of metal. So I'll line this up wherever on the wood on the outside, wherever the hinge goes through, in between, sandwiched in between the two pieces of metal. And this will give it a little bit more strength, but it also gives it a look that we're looking for. That strap all the way across. So we're going to get started laying out the cedar boards. These are 1x6s. We got the opening, and I think what we're going to have is one cedar board that's I'm gonna have to run through the table saw to cut down, and then we're going to offset these joints. So if you're looking at it from the bottom, the cedar boards, let me do a perspective. All right, so if you're looking at it from the bottom, what I'm going to do is offset the two layers and see how that one on the end will be half size, and then we'll get over to the top and this one will be on the end. So that'll give me the ability to come in when I put this board down, this first one, I can come in on the side of it and put a screw in, and I can put a screw in and screw in, and I can hide, those tops will be in the side of these boards, and it'll give it some extra strength through the two boards too, so you won't have to see a bunch of screw holes all through there, or screw heads. So let me get a little more prep set up. Actually, let me show you how I'm going to do the hinge. I've got one kind of set up already. You can see that hinge is tucked in here. I'll put the other half piece right here. And see those boards are going to be offset on the joint. And then what I'll do is where this hinge goes through the center is all notch this out inside, so these boards then they'll lay back down flat. Okay, so if our gate, our post opening is roughly 43, we need our gate to be a little bit narrower than that, because we're going to have, this is kind of a rough setup of where the hinge and the hinge pin will go. So we need to have space for those. So if we gave ourselves, that's about 1 inch and a little less than 3/4, 1 inch and 3/4, and then room for the pin a little bit. So if we gave ourselves maybe 2 inches extra, just for some working room, maybe not quite. I didn't say inch. That's 1 inch and 3/8. I do know how to read a tape measure, guys, ladies. All right, so if we did 1 inch and 3/8 for the hinge, and then another, went up to maybe a total of 1 inch and 3/4 to give the room for the bolt to fit in there. I think that's plenty of space. So we'll 43 minus 1 inch and 3/4, and that'll be our gate width. Alright, so we're going to change it to 41.5 gate opening. So we'll figure out what we need to cut off. That's roughly 2 7/8 and 2 7/8. What's left? About 2 3/4. So we're going to split the difference and just cut this board right down the middle and use it just like that. So 2 7/8, 2 7/8. About 2 3/4. That's right, 2 3/4 is the center. So we're going to take a couple of these boards over to the table saw, rip them down, and be back in a minute. But one thing I do want to show y'all is one side of this. Let me get the camera and get a little close up. So one side of these boards is smooth finish, and then one side is rough finish. And so I've been thinking about which side to put out on the outside of the gate that you can see. And you know, the rough surface is nice, but I'm worried about it just catching water. And so I think I've decided I'm going to put the rough surfaces together on the inside, smooth surface on the outside, and that water will slick off easier once I paint it. I'll still prime the insides just to seal them, so you know, moisture doesn't get in there and start bubbling the paint on the outside of the boards. And then we're going to paint the outside of the gate with a Charleston green semi-gloss that will match some of the other outdoor furniture that we have, and then go from there. So I'm going to run to the table saw, cut these two down, and I will be back. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out one side, and I'm going to sketch in my arch on the top and my circle, and lay out my hinges, and go ahead and try to notch those in, get a measurement so I can do the other side. But I'm going to use this piece of OSB as a 90-degree corner, straight edge. So I'm going to take the first outside piece and clamp it down on the side, make sure it's even along the edge, and then I can set the rest of mine up, probably clamp them across, and that way they don't move while I'm sketching. So we'll go ahead and do that.